So class, okay, we have a table over here where they have given us plastic samples and we need to understand whether they are going to become softer or they are going to burn with the smell and become harder. And on basis of this conclusion, you can understand whether it is a thermoplastic or thermosetting plastic. A toothbrush handle, it is going to become softer or it is going to soften once it is burnt on the spirit lamp. Do you understand? So it is a thermoplastic. Next, you have a comb, a plastic comb over here that is also going to become softer once it is burnt. Do you understand? So, you are going to write here softened and you are going to write thermoplastic in the last column. Next, the piece of bucket. It is also thermoplastic class and it is going to become soft once it is burnt. So, you are going to write soften over here and you are going to write thermoplastic in the last column. Next, handle of the utensil. I just told you the handle of the utensil is made up of bakelite, and bakelite is a kind of a thermosetting plastic, and thermosetting plastics do not get remolded when they are subjected to flame or heat. Okay, so this is going to burn with a smell and become hard. Okay, so it is a thermosetting plastic. You can write the entire spelling over there in your textbook. Please use a pencil if you're doing it. Electric switchboards. Electric switches and switchboards are basically made up of bakelite, which is also a kind of thermosetting plastic class. So you need to write the same thing over here. It is going to burn with a smell and become hard. They do not get remolded when they are heated. Metal plates and coffee mugs, they are a combination of very toxic chemicals basically, and they are breakable, as well as they are definitely having a long duration or long span of life, but they are breakable, they are not healthy. That's why people prefer steel plates and aluminum plates or silver plates in case. So this is that both meals plate and coffee mug, they are going to become soft when they are burnt, and that is why they are nothing but thermoplastics. Okay, so from this table you understand some characteristics or features of both thermoplastics and thermosetting plastics. Thermoplastics, when you're going to burn them, they are going to become softer and they're going to turn into liquid. Okay, and when you freeze them again, they are going to become glassy. Do you understand? Similarly, thermosetting plastics, they are never, but they are, so, thermosetting plastics are of some different nature. You are going to heat thermosetting plastics, but because of the strong crosslinks which were made while you were making the initial product of thermosetting plastic, because of the strong crosslinks between them, they are not going to change the shape or they are not going to get remolded. Do you understand? Some very good examples of thermosetting plastics is the kitchenware. The utensils that you use, all those utensils have a handle. So do you think if it was a steel or a aluminum handle, do you think you would be able to cook very comfortably? No, definitely you would feel the heat when you're touching it, or you might feel the warmth of whatever was being cooked, and you might not be able to hold it, or it was so hot that you might have burnt your fingers. So that is why the handles are made up of bakelite. Okay, so this bakelite is a kind of thermosetting plastic, and plastic is a bad conductor of heat and electricity. All of us know this. So this is the reason that the handles are made up of bakelite, which is a thermosetting plastic which does not get remolded how much ever heat you're going to supply it. Do you understand? And now you have something like you must have seen that the CPUs or computers in people's houses. The CPU is placed in a cabinet. Yes or no? The cabinet is made up of plastic. Do you understand? You cannot put a steel cabinet and throw your CPU inside. The steel is going to become red hot, because metals are good conductors of heat and electricity. And steel is an alloy of metals. Definitely, the CPU, once it starts working and you're working using it for many days, the CPU is going to release so much amount of heat that if you use a steel cabinet, then it is going to become red hot. Okay, do you understand? And it might also get tanned or charred, or it might even burn in some other cases. But when you use plastic cabinets to keep your CPUs inside, or when you use the plastic cabinets to store the CPUs, then definitely they are never going to react so badly, or they're never going to get corroded, or they're basically non-reactive. So it doesn't really matter even if the CPU internal parts are heated. Then the external part that you are dealing with, when you're touching it, it might be a little hot, but it is never going to be so hot that you're going to burn your hand or something like that. If it was made up of steel or aluminium, then it would be a different case. Okay, so here we have something really good over here. Page number 43 on the right hand side. Observe the kitchenware in your house or visit any home appliances shop. What do you notice? Is all kitchenware totally made up of metal? You have pans, okay, you have vessels. So let's see. The handi kind of vessels. Is all kitchenware totally made up of metal? Is it completely made up of metal, or are you using a little bit of plastic in that to complete the vessel over there? With what materials are the handles of utensils made? Utensils are made up of metals like aluminium and copper or steel. Yes or no? All of us use such kind of vessels for eating and serving both. Then what is the additional material? They are talking about what is the handle made up of. Bakelite is used for making handles of various utensils due to its poor conductivity of heat and electricity. Plastic is a bad conductor of heat and electricity. So bakelite, being a thermosetting plastic, it is used in making the handles so that you do not catch those shocks, or you do not catch those hot handles. Okay, so that heat is not affecting you in any case. It is also used for making electrical appliances, including switchboards. Bakelite is used as an alternative for pearl and jade stones. People who like pearl and jade stones but they are not able to afford it, they might use bakelite. Do you understand? So you can see bakelite made articles in figure number 14. In figure number 14, they have mentioned, you can see utensil, which is where you have a bakelite made handle. You have the electric switch and the switchboard. You have the telephone. Okay. Now, those are old vintage telephones. These days we do not use such phones. We use the smartphones. The other thermosetting plastic, the other example that we were talking about is melamine. Melamine used for making kitchenware. Utensils and other items of kitchen are made by melamine. It is also used for making of floor and rest material for the nature of fire resistance. So, the thermosetting plastic named melamine is going to be used to make floor and also the clothes of firemen. Why do you think firemen need melamine made clothes? Because they are going to deal with so much fire and they might get burnt if they are not taking protection. Do you understand? If they are not protecting themselves, or if they are not taking any safety measures, they might burn themselves. Okay, they might meet with fatal accidents. So it's better to be safe than sorry. So they are going to wear suits which are made up of melamine. Okay, let's see further. Computer and TV cabinets are made up of melamine. Okay, I just told you the TV cabinet. Okay, the TV cabinet and the computer cabinets where you're going to store your CPU or the entire computer, it is also made up of, melamine. Why do you think it is made up of melamine? Shockproof. Plus, it is also protecting you from the heat. Do you understand? If it was a steel or aluminium one, it would have heated up. And it might also, if because they are metals, they might have also, created some shocks or some sparks. Okay, why do we prefer plastics? Why do you think we prefer plastics, class? Because plastics are basically non-reactive in nature. Do you understand? I take a metal piece and I store it outside. It is really rainy these days and humid also. So what do you think is going to happen to the metal after a few days? It is going to get corroded. What do you mean by getting corroded? It is going to react with the air and moisture present in the atmosphere and change its color. The junk or the rust is going to form. Do you understand? But is this going to happen the same way with plastics also? No. You keep the plastic container outside for how many ever days you want, it is still going to remain plastic. It is never going to get rusted. Do you understand? That is why we say that plastics are non-biodegradable in nature. I must have discussed this example several times with you. You take a banana peel and you throw it in your dustbin, and you also throw some plastic cups in the dustbin, and this trash is going to be taken by the trash truck. And where is it going then? It is going to the dumping ground. In the dumping ground, the trash truck is going to unload the banana peels as well as the plastic cups. Yes or no? Okay, so after some days when you go and visit, you will not be able to find any of the banana peels or any of the vegetable peels from any other houses over there. But you're definitely going to find your plastic cups that was thrown over there. It might be a bit deformed because of crushing or something like that, but it is never going to mix up with the soil. It is never going to decompose or degrade. Do you understand? It is going to remain there for years and years, thus causing something called as land pollution. Do you understand? The banana peels or the vegetable peels that you're throwing in trash, they definitely get mixed up with the soil and are degraded, are decomposed. But the same thing does not happen with the plastic containers. Okay, when you look back and you see, you will find that plastic cover or the polythene bag or the plastic cups there and there for years and years, but those banana peels are never going to be there. Okay, you might be observing, if you leave your banana peel on the dining table for a few hours, you see it turns black because it reacts with the bacteria around it. Okay, do you understand? It is going to react with the surroundings or react with the bacteria around it and turn its color. Similarly, if you throw the banana peel on the ground, it is going to react with the bacteria in the soil and get degraded. But these bacteria are never going to react with the polythene bags, or they are never going to react with the plastic cups. That is why we say like all these natural items and natural fibers are degradable or biodegradable in nature. Why do you call it biodegradable? Because they are not destroying the environment. Okay, they are eco-friendly. Bio, it deals with something that helps earth, like the biosphere, something related to the earth. Okay, these banana peels, we got them from the banana fruits, and the banana fruits actually grown from the earth. Okay, so giving something back to the earth which was taken from the earth is definitely going to be degraded. It is a cycle. But plastics were man-made. They were made up of chemicals. So these plastic covers or polythene bags are never going to be degraded for many years and years. So this causes land pollution, releases several toxins. So what is the only way out? How are you going to dispose plastic? Either you just throw them away or you burn them. Okay, what are the side effects of burning plastic? What do you think? If you burn plastic, they are going to release really harmful chemicals which are going to mix up with the air, and that might cause acid rain or cause some havoc on the weather and also to the people around where the trash is being burnt. Do you understand? So we need to do something else. We need to find some other measures to use up this thrown away plastic, or use up these plastic covers or bags or cups which are just thrown away and not are not used by anybody. They're just thrown away like they have no owners, something like that. So come to page number 44. We have a do you know section. Let's look at this. A Belgian scientist named Dr. Leo Hendrik Baekeland. Can you see the word bake over there? Maybe he's the one who discovered Bakelite. He is the one actually. A Belgian scientist named Dr. Leo Hendrik Baekeland was responsible for the invention of Bakelite. Sorry for telling discovery, because basically invention. In 1907, he was working as a chemist. By accident, he discovered the compound of carbonic acid and formaldehyde. You can underline it. Okay, when he tried to reheat the solidified compound, he discovered it would not melt no matter how high the temperature was. What was he observing? How much ever he was trying to burn the compound that was made up of formaldehyde and carbonic acid, how much ever he was subjecting it to high temperature, it was not getting remolded. Okay, so Dr. Baekeland is considered as the father of present plastics industry. So he made lives easier for many people, because he invented the Bakelite, which is being used in the plastic industry widely and prominently. Very famous. So hot pin test. There is a test to identify whether the plastic that you are using is Bakelite or not. Okay, to test if a piece is Bakelite, get a very hot pin from an open flame source. Then touch the pin to the item. If it is Bakelite, it will not penetrate. Okay, it may give off the acid smell and it may leave a purple burn mark. If the pin penetrates or melts, the plastic, then it is not genuine Bakelite. So for example, if this is the plastic piece that I want to test whether it is Bakelite or not, and I'm taking a pin which was heated, hold the pin with the help of tongs. Okay, so if I'm going to try penetrating the pin into this plastic, and if it gets penetrated, or penetrated is passing through, do you understand? If it passes through the solid plastic piece over here, this means it is not thermosetting plastic and it is not Bakelite. If it is not able to pass through and the solid piece is slightly melting and leaving a purple color mark over here, this proves that that particular solid piece of sample is basically nothing but Bakelite plastic. Do you understand? This is one way of identifying whether the given plastic is Bakelite or not, and this kind of test is called as hot pin test. Okay, so why do electrical wires have plastic covering? Plastic is a bad conductor of electricity. The copper strands are good conductors of electricity. They need an outer covering so that you do not catch shocks. And that is why the outer covering is made up of plastic. You might have seen pans, pressure cookers and screwdriver handles. Why are they made up of plastics? All of them to save you from excess of heat and electricity. Basically making it shock proof and heat proof. Plastics are poor conductors of heat and electricity. Do you see over there? Yes. Let's discuss. Think and discuss now. Certain fry pans are said to be non-stick. Okay, these non-stick fry pans are very famous. You make an omelette on them, they're never going to stick on it. Or you make a dosa on them, they're never going to stick. You need a very little amount of oil when you pour it, and you can make the food very easily. What made them non-stick? Okay, why are they called as non-stick? Because there is a plastic covering on them called as Teflon. Do you understand? That Teflon is also a polymer. It is a plastic painting or a plastic covering basically on the on the pans, so that these pans become non-sticky. Do you understand? That chemical or that polymer being used over here is nothing but Teflon. The spelling is Teflon. Okay, it is this. So there is a Teflon covering on the non-sticky pan, so that the food that is being made on the pan is not going to stick to the pan, and you need little amount of oil only in this cases. Firemen wear dress which does not catch fire. What type of fabric is it made up of? We just studied it is made up of melamine fabric. Do you understand? These fabrics are basically helping to make suits which are fire resistant or shock proof. Okay, so now we are going to come to page number 45, and we are going to discuss about plastics and environment. I just told you how plastics were destroying the environment, and they were causing so much of land pollution. I just told you that how other items get degraded and decomposed very easily by mixing up with the soil, because they are natural substances, but plastic is made up of chemicals and it never goes back to the nature, and it's non-biodegradable. So it is basically going to remain there for years and years, causing land pollution, and if you burn it, it is going to cause air pollution. That air is going to make up clouds, and then it is going to fall as rain, and that will be water pollution, basically a havoc in the human life. So not only, there were also cases you must have heard in news or watched in news, that the animals also, they eat away the roadside plastic bags. Okay, when the animals are just moving on the roads and they have no caretakers, they just feed on anything that they find to fill their stomach. So there was a case where some tons of plastic were found in the stomach of cows and buffaloes, and they got suffocated because of it, and they died. Okay, this was a very famous news basically, and very sad and tragic also, that those animals had no caretakers and they had nothing to feed on, so they feed on the roadside trash or roadside garbage, and the garbage bins, they are hardly cleaned, or hardly unloaded. Maybe once in a blue moon the garbage truck comes and they unload it. Of course, there are places where the garbage trucks are kept clean and neat, all because of the community helpers, but there are still places where this is not taken care of, and these animals, they have nowhere to go and they have no food to eat, so they feed on anything that they find. So they eat away the plastic covers also which are there in the garbage tins, not knowing, definitely they don't have a mind as you or me, which can understand that this is not consumable, or you cannot consume it, or it is not edible, but they just eat it away, thinking that just to fill their stomach, and once these animals eat it, and it clogs their organs and clogs their stomachs, and they're not able to breathe anymore. So once it is filled up, once the stomach is filled up with tons of plastics, they are not able to move, or they are not able to function well, and lastly they die because of that. Okay, because of this havoc. And it was very tragic to know that the animals have to feed on something like this, with a country that is completely famous for agriculture. And agriculture means so much of farming and so much of poultry. So it was the responsibility of every Indian citizen over here to take care of the animals also, which belong to us. Okay, they are also a part, they are also family. So basically, so there is a very beautiful article over here that needs to be understood by us. This yellow article that you see, let's read it together. Plastic bags are more dangerous than atom bomb for future generations, says the Supreme Court of India. It is the apex court. Okay, so the Supreme Court of India says it is more dangerous than atom bomb. Let's see why. Excessive use of plastic bags and their unregulated disposal has been choking lakes, ponds, and urban sewerage systems. So these plastic bags are not only harmful for the animals but also for the drainage. Do you understand? They are going to block the drainage, and because of this, there might be floods in areas which are not flood prone also. So if there is heavy rainfall in your area and your area is not flood prone and the water is not going to pass easily, this means the drainage is blocked. And how did the drainage get blocked? Because you threw away some plastic somewhere the other day. Maybe not you, maybe there were other people around you who were not responsible enough, and they threw the plastic anywhere, which flew away and blocked the drainage pipes and the drainage systems. The Supreme Court said while warning that it posed a threat more serious than the atom bomb for the next generation. Andhra Pradesh based NGOs drawing the court's attention to 30 to 60 kg of plastic bags recovered from the stomachs of cows. I was just talking about this, yes or no? Like the cows, when they're just moving around and they have no caretakers, they just eat away plastic from the garbage tins. There was a news in Andhra Pradesh that says that they found 30 to 60 kgs of plastics from a cow's stomach. Okay, because of irresponsible disposal of plastic bags and defunct municipal waste collection system. Okay, why did this happen? Because you threw away plastic whenever you because you used plastic whenever you wanted, and you threw it away because you don't want it anymore. And the municipal system of that particular area did not take up the responsibility to unload the garbage tins on time. Okay, so, but the bench wanted to address the larger questions arising from indiscriminate use of plastic bags, which not only posed a grave threat to nature and environment, but also to human race itself. So, basically, the Supreme Court wants us to know and address that, this is a big major issue. Okay, you cannot just sideline this issue by overlooking it or by using something else or not thinking about what to do about the disposed plastic. But you need to think about it. It is very difficult for the human race to survive in the forthcoming years if we are not taking care about this now. Okay, it is going to be difficult for the future generation unless we examine a total ban on plastic bags or put in place a system for manufacturers mandating them to collect back all plastic bags. The next generation will be threatened with something more serious than the atom bomb. Okay, so basically you might also be knowing that this year itself there was a ban on plastic, and people, even the shopkeepers, the kiranas started using the cloth bags and the paper bags. Do you understand? Before this, when I was studying and when I was in college, there was a ban on plastics that was more than 50 microns. Do you understand? And you could use plastic pens or plastic covers which were under 50 microns, because there was a study that says any plastic which is under 50 microns can be disposed very easily, but anything more than that might take lots of time and many years to dispose it. But now recently, maybe this year only, as far as I remember, there was a complete ban on plastics, and people encouraged others to use just the cloth bag and the paper bags or jute bags in better cases. Justices Singhvi and Mukhopadhyay said large quantities of water packed in plastic pouches which were thrown around in undisciplined and uncivil manner across the country every day. You might be seeing that people buy some 2 rupees water packet, 5 rupees water packet. They are nothing but plastic pouches where water is filled. You need to think, you're going to tear it and you're going to consume it from a plastic pouch, and plastic is so harmful. You need to think about it. A rough estimate shows more than 100 million water pouches are thrown all over the cities and towns in a day. There is no control over the production of such water pouches, and definitely people are continuously buying it because they are much cheaper when compared to the other measures. So that is why there is about 100 million of water pouches which are almost thrown in an undisciplined or uncivil manner. You just tear the pouch, drink the water and throw it away without even analyzing that you need to actually throw it in the garbage bin. And even if it is thrown in the garbage bin, the municipality needs to take up the responsibility to empty it every day so that animals don't feed on them. Okay, so this is what the article discussed, the Supreme Court of India, by Supreme Court of India, of course. So, come to page number 46, we have an activity over here which says biodegradable and non-biodegradable. I will clean up the board for you. So, we have an activity to do on page number 46, class. Let's do it together. Okay, so we were talking about biodegradable and non-biodegradable substances. Biodegradable is something that can mix up with the soil very easily or get degraded or decomposed very easily in the nature. Basically, non-biodegradable is something that is not going to get degraded or decomposed or broken down into smaller substances easily. Okay, so here we have some waste that we need to talk about. Peels of fruits and vegetables, can they decompose easily? Yes. How much time do you think they can take? They can take about 1 to 2 weeks to decompose or degrade. Which kind of change it is? It is like a biodegradable change because they got degraded, they got decomposed. What do you mean by decomposed? Broken down into smaller parts and got mixed up with the soil. So it is biodegradable in nature. Okay, leftover food, of course, food also. Food contains what? It contains rice, wheat and all these pulses. Definitely the leftover food, if you're going to throw it in the trash, they're going to mix up with the soil. It is also going to take 1 to 2 weeks. Okay, and it is also biodegradable in nature. And what is biodegradable? It means it can break down into smaller parts, smaller substances and get mixed up with the soil without harming the nature. Now you have waste paper. Waste paper, paper is made from the wood pulp. And it is also biodegradable. It might take some 20 to 30 days to degrade it, and it is also biodegradable. Okay, next we have the cotton cloth. The cotton cloth might take around few months. Let's write few months. And cotton cloth is made up of those cotton fibers which are obtained from the plants, from the cotton plants. Okay, it's also natural. It's also a natural fiber. So it is also biodegradable in nature. Okay, plastic bags. I just told you, plastic bags is going to take years and years. So please mention over here several years. And it is non-biodegradable. Okay, and what do we mean by non-biodegradable? It is not going to break down into further substances and it is going to harm the nature. It is going to harm the land. It is not going to get mixed up with the soil. Also, there was one point as far as I remember, and you might also remember that, maybe a year ago in our science textbook, we learned that when we were dumping plastic in the soil, it was also causing it was also toxic and harmful for the earthworms which were living in the soil because they weren't able to breathe because of the plastic. This was maybe learned around 1 or 2 years ago in our science textbook, that dumping plastic in the ground was causing an havoc to the animals which were living under the soil or inside the soil or under the ground. Do you understand? So let's see, we have the 4R principle that can help us. Okay, so we were talking about what could be the safety measures. How can we just not use plastic, or how can we save our environment? So the Supreme Court basically, and there is Society of Plastics Industry called as the SPI. Okay, the Supreme Court, the Society of Plastic Industries, and many NGOs came together and they made something called as the 4R principle. The 4R principle stands for reduce, reuse, recycle and recover. Okay, so basically we need to understand why are we talking about the 4R principle over here. Okay, so we are going to talk about the 4R principle, class. Okay, the first R stands for reduce. The second one stands for reuse. The third one stands for recycle. And the fourth one stands for recover. Let's talk about it one by one. As per the first principle, the reduce principle, they are asking us, okay, who's asking? Of course, the people who are working for the environment. They are the ones who are, who have jotted down and concluded that people should follow the 4R principle. And if you follow it, definitely you can see a change in the environment. You might be living in a safer environment thereafter. Okay, the first principle says reduce. Reduce the amount of plastic that you are using. You go to a marriage function or any kind of function, you see all disposable plates over there. Yeah, so maximum kinds of functions, they are going to place disposable plates for you. So that once you're done eating, you just dispose it off. Where do you think all these disposed plates are going? And they're actually made up of plastic. Where do you think they must be going? They must be going to the trash and then to the ground, the trash ground, the dumping yard. Are they going to get degraded on their own? Definitely not. So that is also causing lots of pollution. So what could be one way of stopping this? You can reduce the amount of plastic that you are using in all these big functions over here on this large scale functions, and even small scale functions need to reduce the amount of plastic that they are using and switch to using leaf plates, or you have all these eco-friendly plates that you can use instead of all this, so that because these get degraded much faster than those plastic plates. So reduce the use of plastic plates in all these functions can be one idea to reduce the amount of plastic in your surroundings. Also, prefer using cloth bags or prefer using paper bags whenever you go shopping, and whenever you want to go to the market, vegetable market, to buy your vegetables, you can definitely use a cloth bag instead of using a plastic bag. Okay, so reduce using the plastic and start using something else, a better alternative like the jute bag or the cloth bag or the paper bags. So now that was the first principle that we had to discuss. The second one is reuse. Okay, so we have lots of plastic covers in a house. You might be seeing that there is one big plastic cover in your house. Inside that you have too many plastic covers, and whenever you feel like you need it, you just remove one size cover and you stuff something in it and then go for the work that whatever you want to do. So basically in everybody's house there is one big plastic cover inside which we stuff our smaller plastic covers, so that we can it is at the reach of a hand, so that whenever we need them we can just take one out of them and just start using it. So basically, if you have plastic covers at home, instead of just throwing it away in an uncivilized or an undisciplined manner, try to reuse them. Okay, try to reuse them till for years and years. Maybe of course it is very toxic, but use it to a certain extent, so that as soon as you should not do that. Whenever you go shopping and you have a brand new plastic cover, you have removed the clothes from the plastic cover and you throw the plastic cover away. Instead of that, you can use that particular plastic cover for various other things. You can keep some papers inside them, and or else some books inside them, and keep it in your umbrella or wardrobe, like that. You could do that. There is only one way of reusing the plastic covers that you already have, instead of just burning and disposing them. Do you understand? Till you get a good alternative of what to do with the disposed plastic, try reusing them. Okay, there are managements and there are people who are working on reusing or what to do with the disposed plastic. They're trying to convert them into electrical waste, or convert them into electricity, or some power generation facilities. Do you understand? So instead of all this, because we don't have a ready to go alternative right now, so with the plastic bags that you already have, what are you going to do? I just told you plastic is not good for health. That doesn't mean you will take away all the plastic in the house and throw it away in the trash. That could also be uncivilized and undisciplined. Okay, it's not going to be mindfulness. So what do you need to do? You need to use it judiciously. You need to stop buying any further plastic and try reusing whatever you have till you get a good alternative. Do you understand? Till you get an idea of what to do with the plastic that you already have, or what to do with the disposed plastic. That was the second principle, the recycle principle. Okay, now the newspapers that you buy, there is a guy who always comes and takes away all the newspapers at the month end, or once in 2 months. Yeah, so you give away all the newspapers, and he gives you a little bit of money in exchange of it. Why do you sell newspapers? Because these newspapers are going to be taken by him, and he's going to, recycle them, give it to the industries and factories which are going to recycle them, and they are either going to make the same papers out of it, the same print of papers, or they are going to use up those papers for paper bags and various other purposes. This is recycling, which is very easy for the new, which is very easy in case of paper. Now, plastic recycling, there are about 60,000 kinds of plastics, okay, and you cannot use all of them. You remember we had the code 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and others. Code number 6 is basically used for making mugs and plates, and code number 1 and 2 are basic. One is used for PET bottles, which are very very widely used and reusable also, but prefer not using them yet. Okay, prefer not using them there now. After, from now onwards, try using something that is more safer. So what was I telling? There are about 60,000 types of plastics, and you cannot use all of them. Not all of them are recyclable. You need to check the code on every plastic to understand whether this kind of plastic is recyclable or not. Okay, if it is code 5, which is polypropylene, and it is thermoplastic, it is not it is not recyclable, it is not reusable, also toxic. Also code number 3 also, there is code number 4, which is LDPE, as far as I remember. Okay, yes, code number 4 is LDPE, which is the polythene bags, which are very widely used, and you use polythene bags again and again for various purposes. So recycle is something using it again. Recycle, what does it mean? Forming the same cycle again. Basically, you are going to use it again, use the same thing again. It's like that. Okay, recycle, or else use that same thing for some other purposes. You can give it to some plastic factories or plastic industries which are going to use the same plastic. For example, you have lots of plastic covers with you, and there are some agencies and some factories which take away the used plastic. The used plastic will be used by them, and with the help of further chemicals and further processing, the used plastic will be converted into further new plastic bags. Do you understand? This is a recycling process. The same thing happens with newspapers also, right? You buy newspapers, you sell them off. The same newspapers are used to make paper bags or newspapers again. That is called as recycling. Okay, so there was an industry. There is a very famous industry, SPI, Society of Plastic Industry, that have given a recycling code. Any of your plastic is going to have this particular code without the number in it. This means that particular plastic can be recycled. Do you understand? Any of your plastic object is having this code without any number inside. This shows that it is recyclable. Okay, this shows that particular resin is recyclable. So you can look for this mark whenever you buy plastic. Okay. On page number 47, they have mentioned what is it about. Page number 47, the last paragraph on the right hand side. To identify the plastic, look at the recycling icon. The chasing arrows. You see, these arrows are chasing each other. Okay, they're following each other. So inside the arrows, there will be a number that identifies the polymer. Which numbers did we talk about? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and anything other than that is nothing but others. Okay, when the number is omitted, as seen in the figure, if I have no number in between those arrows, the symbol is known as universal recycling symbol. Okay, the symbol that I've drawn on the board is called as a universal recycling symbol because there is no number inside it, and this number, this code or this icon signifies that that particular plastic can be recycled. Please underline this. Indicating generic recyclable materials. Okay. That's what I told you. If you have this particular icon on the plastic objects that you have bought, they mean that you can recycle them again and again. It is a universal recycling symbol. The other codes are just basically going to specify which kind of polymer it is and whether it is reusable for a certain period of time or not. Okay, something recyclable is more safer than the code number. Do you understand? So what is the role of codes in recycling process? So how are the codes going to help you? Definitely, if there is a number inside, you know whether that particular polymer is safe for you or not, because we have studied about which kind of polymers are safe. Do you understand? That is what it signifies. So what are uncoded plastics? Any plastic which is not having this kind of symbol. What do you think? What is your judgment about it? Can you buy that kind of plastic? No, it is going to be really bad. It is going to be toxic and harmful to nature and also to you. So these kind of plastics are called as uncoded plastics, which do not have the symbol and no codes also. So the next principle that we need to discuss is recover. Okay, so recover is basically what I was telling you, that we, all of us in our houses, we have huge amount of plastic, and if there is no way out, we cannot dispose it directly because this is going to harm the environment. So there are places and there are people which who are coming up with ideas to convert this plastic into electricity or some other management schemes, so that there is no trash, there is no pollution, there is no havoc happening to the environment. Let me read the last para for you. Supreme Court gave a judgment on ways and means of solid waste management and gave order to implement this in all the cities of India by 2003. Okay, this was much way back earlier, but still people continue using plastic and try, and they just keep disposing it wherever they find place. What is solid waste management? Something like the compost pit. Do you remember? So there was so much of natural peels, like fruit peels and the vegetable peels, that had to be decomposed. You just dig a pit and decompose it, and it forms a compost pit, something like a fertilizer to the soil. Okay, the same thing cannot be done for, this was one of the ways of solid waste management, but that same thing cannot be done for plastic. You cannot just dig the ground and dispose plastic. As I told you, it is going to harm the animals which are present in the soil, and it is not at all going to get degraded. Even if you dig it after 2 years, you're going to find the same plastic over there. Do you understand? So here, in the solid waste garbage of municipalities, plastic occupies a major share. It is the most difficult to be degraded. The principle of recover plays major role in this solid waste management. The most important principle amongst the 4R principle is recover. Reducing the use. Limiting the usage of plastic is called as reducing. Reusing is using the same plastic again and again. Okay, recycling is using the plastic in some other form. Okay, now let's study about recover. The solid waste should be converted into resources such as electricity, heat, compost, and fuel through thermal and biological terms. It is very easy to make biofuel from the natural, trash that you get from your house. If you're throwing vegetables and fruit peels and some plants which are decomposed, and dead plants and all, they all decompose in the soil with the help of the compost pit, of course, and they form the biofuel. Biofuel can be used for running engines, but there are people who are working on certain measures so that plastic is also treated with some biological substances, and it is converted into fuel, electricity, or heat or compost. Is any such effort for solid waste management taking place in your village or town? How do you appreciate 4R principle? So by now I must, I think that all of us definitely appreciate the 4R principle. It is helping us to at least think about saving the environment. If you're following at least two of them, the best usage of this will be that we are following all of it. Definitely for the recover one, you need to watch out news. Okay, there are places which are working to convert the solid waste management or the plastic into electricity. This process is called as pyrolysis. You can search about this. It is called as pyrolysis, where the plastic is going to be treated with several chemicals and substances, and it is going to be converted into heat and electricity. Okay, so there are different forms of pyrolysis also. That is another way big topic. So yes, which is not in the scope of the textbook. Of course, I have named it for you. You can definitely find out about it. It can be like increasing your knowledge. That was one way of using the recover principle, the pyrolysis technique, where the plastic is being converted into electricity. Also, there are certain people, certain scientists, many intelligent youth who's working on converting plastic into electricity, to turn turbines, to have solid waste management resources and many other things, and to produce fuel also, which is going to help them run cars and engines. So for now, that is all. We are done with the lesson. So you can write down Sakshi that we have completed from 42 to 48. So the Sakshi is classwork completed from page number 42 to 48 is done, and the homework is, okay, what could be from homework? Okay, so you can read the lesson as well as you can find out about pyrolysis. Yes or no? Find out about pyrolysis technique. Pyrolysis. I have written the spelling. If it is not clear, Pyrolysis, pyrolysis technique. Find out about pyrolysis for plastic management. Okay, so this would be something very interesting to do. Please try to do it. Okay, try developing your interest. The next lesson that we will deal with is metals and non-metals. Pretty easy. Thank you, class.